Welcome back. We will continue our discussions on single phase. Excuse me. We will continue our discussions on single phase fully controlled converter or full converter. In our previous lecture, we discussed the operation and analysis of a single phase full converter for purely resistive load, purely inductive load, and RL load. And for RL load, if you remember, we discussed its operation for alpha less than 90 degrees. Let us continue for RL load. Continue it. And now we will, let us assume alpha is 90 degrees for RL load. Let me draw the power circuit diagram first. T1, T2, T3, and T4. And this is my load RL. This is the source voltage Vs. Source current is Is. Load, this is positive bus, this is negative bus. My load voltage is Vd and load current is Id. Okay, we'll try to understand operation of a single phase full converter for RL load for alpha equal to 90 degrees. Again, we will go to graphical approach. We'll draw the waveforms. This is source voltage waveform. And see, this is our source voltage waveform Vs. These are the zero crossing points, 0, pi, 2 pi, 3 pi, and so on. Alpha is 90 degrees. So this is delay angle alpha equal to 90 degrees. So here at this instant, let me show you the gating current or pulse pattern. Firing pulse will be issued to thyristor T1. So this is alpha equal to 90 degrees. T1 and T3, because this is the positive half cycle of source voltage, T1, T3 will be fired. And at pi plus alpha, this is your pi plus alpha. Pi is alpha is again 90 degrees. It is from pi to this, it is again 90 degrees. Firing pulse will be issued to other pair of devices, T2, T4, because negative half cycle of source voltage is there. And then again, after 2 pi, delay the firing of T1, T3 by 90 degrees. So again, T1, T3 will be fired. And during the next negative half cycle, after delaying the firing pulse by 90 degrees, as you can see, T2, T4 pair will be fired. Okay, now let us try to draw the load voltage and load current waveform. So these are our zero crossing projections. So this is pi, this is 2 pi, 3 pi, 4 pi. Our load voltage waveform. Let us first of all draw the entire cycles of the source voltage and reverse negative voltages also. Okay, fine. Now during the positive half cycle of source voltage, after alpha equal to 90 degrees, that means somewhere here. This is alpha equal to 90 degrees. Thyristor pair T1, T3 is fired. So T1, T3 will immediately go into conduction. They will connect load across the source. Since source voltage is positive, the remaining segment of positive half cycle of source voltage from alpha to pi will appear across the load. It's like this. And what will happen to the load current? Load current will start rising. For example, load current rises from 0. Now When it rises, it will reach its peak value. You have seen when we were discussing the operation of full converter for a purely inductive load. Purely inductive load. If you remember there, you have seen this is the nature of load voltage waveform. I hope you remember. You can turn the pages of your notes and you can see. And this was the load current. So this is alpha, this is pi, okay, and so on. So current, this is 2 pi, of course. Current rises, it reaches peak value at omega t equal to pi, as you already know. At omega t equal to pi, current reaches peak value and then it falls and it reaches, it just touches 0 at omega t equal to 2 pi, and then it again rises. So this, if this was your load voltage, this was the load current ID. So what I mean to say is that for purely inductive load fed by a full converter, current was rising from alpha and it was reaching its maximum value or peak value at omega t equal to pi. But that is not the case here. I don't have purely inductive load. I have a combination of R and L. And we already know for RL load, when current rises, it reaches peak value between pi by 2 and pi. So this is pi by 2 and this is pi. So current will reach its peak value, say somewhere here, between pi by 2 and pi. And then it will start falling. It will start falling. And when it starts falling, it becomes 0 at an angle beta, which is called extinction angle. Okay, at beta it will become 0. Why current is not continuous like purely inductive load? Why it for purely inductive load for alpha equal to 90 degrees, the load current is just continuous. It reaches peak value at pi and just tries to become 0 at 2 pi. But before becoming 0, next firing takes place. So current is just continuous. But that is not the case for purely resistive inductive load. For resistive inductive load, for RL load. For RL load, current reaches maximum value not at pi. If current would have reached maximum value at pi, then it would have lasted up to pi plus alpha, up to this. But problem is that current reaches maximum value before pi, say somewhere here. And then when it decreases from alpha to pi, it rises. From pi to beta, it falls, and finally at beta it becomes 0. So therefore current becomes 0. It gives discontinuous conduction mode of operation, and this is your load current ID. Then again here current will rise, and before the next firing it will reach maximum value somewhere here and it will fall. Then again current will rise and it will fall and become 0 somewhere here. So this is the load current pattern. Now we can see our load voltages like this from alpha to pi. What is the pair of devices which is conducting? T1 and T3 pair is conducting, and load gets connected to the source, and load voltage is the remaining segment of positive half cycle of source voltage. Then our from pi to beta at omega t equal to pi, source voltage is 0, load voltage is also 0. But from pi to beta, current from pi to beta, source voltage reverses its polarity and current continues to flow. And earlier current was rising, now it is falling. So current continues to flow, and we already know that beyond pi, T1 and T3 pair will continue to conduct. And now since source voltage has reversed its polarity and T1 is conducting, so that means through T1 this negative potential will come here, and through T3 this positive potential will come here. That means now load voltage is same as source voltage. Of course, load will receive a segment of negative half cycle of source voltage from pi to beta. That I can show here. This is the negative segment of voltage, source voltage. So that means your thyristor pair T1 starts conducting at alpha and it will continue to conduct up to beta. So the conduction is from alpha to beta, not from alpha to pi plus alpha, as was the case for purely inductive load. For purely inductive load, this was alpha and this was next instant of firing, pi plus alpha. The current was continuous, just continuous. And conduction, T1, T3 pair was conducting from alpha to pi plus alpha. But that is not the case for RL load. For RL load, the conduction is from alpha to beta. T1, T3 pair conducts from alpha to beta. And during this period, load voltage from alpha to pi is positive and from pi to beta is negative. But you can see negative segment of voltage is less than positive segment of voltage, and that has to be true also. You cannot have in this case positive voltage equal to negative voltage. That is true only in case of inductor, because for an inductor the average load voltage is zero. For an inductor, the positive segment of voltage is exactly equal to negative segment of voltage, which means positive volt seconds is equal to negative volt seconds, which means energy stored is equal to energy released. That's true with purely inductive load, but that is, and therefore since positive area is equal to negative area, average load voltage across the inductor is always zero. That's true. The average load voltage across an inductor is always zero because it is a wattless circuit element. It takes the energy during this period, stores that energy, and during this period it releases that energy and supplies that energy back to the source. So it does not consume any energy. But as soon as you add R in series with L, it becomes RL load. So therefore, in RL load, the energy consumed is more than energy released. If you, in this RL load, you take inductor alone and you see what the nature of voltage across the inductor, that will be same as this. Positive volt second, negative volt second will be equal, and average voltage across inductor will be zero. Energy stored will be exactly equal to energy absorbed. But taking R and L together, you will find that positive voltage will be greater than negative voltage, which means average load voltage will not be zero, average load voltage will be positive. From this positive area, if you subtract this negative area, you will get certain amount of average load voltage, because resistive part of the load always consumes the energy. It draws power from the source and it consumes that power. So therefore, positive area, positive voltage has to be greater than negative voltage. That's why our current does not last up to next instant of firing. If our current would have lasted up to next instant of firing, then in that case negative area would have been exactly equal to positive area, and average load voltage would again have been zero. But that is not true for an RL load. For an RL load, average load voltage is always positive, not zero. Average load voltage is zero only for purely inductive load. For an RL load, average load voltage has to be positive because of the presence of resistance, and since this resistance always consumes energy, so average load voltage has to be positive. That's why current starts rising from alpha, it reaches maximum value between pi by 2 and pi, and then when it falls, it does not last up to next instant of firing. It becomes zero before that at beta, and this gives positive area more than negative area. So I hope that's clear. Now here, next instant of firing will come. Since negative half cycle of source voltage has already come, this is the negative half cycle of source voltage. T2 and T4 pair is waiting for the firing pulse. Firing pulse is issued after a delay of alpha plus pi. Pi plus alpha, that's pi plus 90 degrees. That means after another delay of 90 degrees. And T2, T4 pair will immediately go into conduction. It will connect load across the source, and positive segment of voltage will appear across the load. From beta to, this is pi plus alpha, your load voltage will be zero, and then it will be again equal to positive half segment of source voltage from pi plus alpha to 2 pi. And from 2 pi to, you can call this 2 pi plus beta. Source voltage now reverses its polarity. It again becomes positive. You can see source voltage again becomes positive, but T2, T4 pair continues to conduct. So when T2 is conducting, it connects this negative here, and when T4 is conducting, it brings this positive here. So that means a negative segment of source voltage will appear across the load. You can see this is the negative segment of source voltage, and you can again see here positive voltage is slightly more than negative voltage, so that average voltage is positive. And then from 2 pi plus beta to 2 pi plus alpha, load voltage is again zero, and then repeats. You will again have large positive segment of voltage and small negative segment of voltage, and then zero voltage, and so on. So this is the nature of load voltage, and this is load current. So that means previously also there would have been some zero instant here and some negative instant here. If you assume that previously the converter was already on, so this is the nature of load voltage, VD, and this is the nature of load current, ID. And you can see, since positive voltage is slightly greater than negative voltage, what is average load voltage? Average load voltage, VD. Average load voltage is not zero, it is positive because of presence of resistance, and since resistance always consumes energy, so average load voltage has to be positive, not zero. It was equal to zero in case of a purely inductive load, because inductor is a wattless circuit element. It does not consume any energy. Whatever energy it draws, the same energy it returns back to the source. So during this positive volt second area, it draws the energy, stores that energy, and during negative volt second area, it supplies that energy back to the source. So it does not consume any energy. For RL load, the energy drawn here during this positive voltage area is more than the energy released and sent back to the source because of the presence of R, because R always consumes the energy. So average load voltage across RL load for alpha equal to 90 degrees is zero. And one more important point that you can note here is that the conduction is discontinuous. It results in discontinuous conduction mode of operation, whereas for purely inductive load, the current is just continuous. Purely inductive load at alpha equal to 90 degrees results in continuous conduction mode of operation. But RL load for alpha equal to 90 degrees results in discontinuous conduction mode of operation. That's very important. So that was for alpha equal to 90 degrees. Let us now see what happens if alpha is greater than 90 degrees. Let alpha be greater than 90 degrees. We will now take alpha greater than 90 degrees. So these are the zero crossings, 0, pi, 2 pi, and so on. This is the source voltage. Now this is our source voltage waveform Vs. Let me show you the firing pulse pattern. IG means gating current pulses, and alpha, since we are assuming alpha greater than 90 degrees, let us assume this is alpha around 120 degrees. So during the positive half cycle of source voltage, so this is alpha, and here alpha is greater than 90 degrees, firing pulse will be issued to T1 T2 pair. T1 T2 pair. During the negative half cycle of source voltage, firing pulse, this is pi plus alpha. Pi plus alpha, firing pulse will be issued simultaneously to T2 T4. This is T1 T3 pair during positive half cycle, and during negative half cycle, firing pulse will be issued to T2 T4 pair of devices. During next positive half cycle, firing pulse will be again issued to T1 T3 pair, and during next negative half cycle, it will be issued to T2 T4 pair, and so on. This is the firing pulse pattern. Let us see the load voltage and load current waveform. So this is the zero crossing, this is 0, this is pi, and this is next zero crossing 2 pi, and so on. So these are our zero crossing points. So let me try to draw the load voltage waveform. First I will show the dotted waveform and negative of this voltage. Okay, fine. Now alpha is greater than 90 degrees, so this is alpha around this is alpha around 120 degrees, and here firing pulse is issued to thyristor pair. Since positive half cycle of source voltage is there, thyristor pair T1 and T3 are fired at alpha greater than 90 degrees, around 120 degrees. So this pair will immediately go into conduction. Load will be connected directly across the source, and whatever is the remaining segment of positive half cycle of source voltage, a small positive half cycle of source voltage, this small segment will get applied across the load, and load voltage will be equal to source voltage. So this is load voltage Vd, and you can see next firing occurs here. Let us show first these firing instants. Next firing here, next firing here. Now what will happen to current during this period? Current during this period, load current will rise. It will reach peak value again between pi by 2 and pi. This is pi. It will not reach peak value at pi, but less than pi, because it's not an inductive load, it's RL load, and then it becomes zero. It becomes zero somewhere here at beta. Then again here current will next firing takes place. Current rises and it falls. Then again current rises and it falls. Current rises and falls. This is the nature of your load current, ID. Now since from pi to beta, current is still continuing, but source has reversed its polarity. I mean, source voltage has now become negative. T1 and T3 will continue to conduct, and through this T1, this negative potential will come here, and through T3, this positive potential will come here. That means load will receive a segment of negative half cycle of voltage. This is the segment of negative half cycle of voltage, a small segment. And then from beta to next instant of firing, pi plus alpha, your load voltage will be zero. And then here, we are here, T2, T4, negative half cycle of source voltage is already there. T2, T4 pair will be fired. When T2, T4 pair is fired, load voltage again becomes positive. Okay, segment of positive voltage. And then from 2 pi to 2 pi plus beta, here load voltage is negative. It is the segment of negative half cycle of source, a small segment. And then from this to this, load voltage is again zero. Then it is positive segment and negative segment like this. It repeats. I mean, then again here it's positive voltage, negative voltage. So this is our load voltage waveform and load current waveform. Now, if you remember, when we had drawn this for alpha greater than 90 degrees for a purely inductive load, the waveform was something like this. If you go back to your notes and see, you go back to our previous lecture, you see your waveform was like this. This was our load voltage waveform. This was alpha, okay, this was pi, and this was beta. There also current was rising, it was reaching peak value at pi, and then it was becoming zero. This was load current ID, and this was load voltage VD. I mean, the two waveforms are similar except for one fact. The fact is that here negative voltage area is exactly equal to positive voltage area everywhere. That means positive volt seconds is equal to negative volt seconds, and that has to be true again, because this, since load is purely inductive, whatever energy it stores when current rises in it, I mean when positive volt seconds are there, the same energy it has to release when current falls or when negative volt second area is there. So that's why negative volt second area has to be exactly equal to positive volt second area. That means energy released has to be equal to energy stored. Similarly here, then energy stored is equal to energy released. The two areas are equal, so that again here we can say average load voltage is zero, because the two areas, positive area and negative area, are equal. So average load voltage is zero. That is not the case with RL load. With RL load, you can see positive area is slightly more than negative area. As you can see, positive area is slightly more than negative area. Similarly here, positive area is slightly more than negative area, so that average load voltage is not zero, it is positive. It is again because of the presence of resistance R. And what type of conduction is there? Conduction is discontinuous. This again results in discontinuous conduction mode of operation, and this is true for purely inductive load also. Here also current is discontinuous. The only difference between the waveforms, load voltage waveforms of for a purely inductive load and for RL load is that for purely inductive load, positive and negative voltage or volt second areas are equal, and the average load voltage is zero. But current is discontinuous. We have discontinuous conduction mode of operation, DCM. And for RL load, positive area is slightly more than negative area, so that load voltage, average load voltage is not zero, it is positive. And current is again discontinuous. So both types of loads result in discontinuous conduction mode of operation. But for a purely inductive load, average load voltage is zero. But for RL load, average load voltage is not zero, it is some positive value because of presence of resistance R. So this completes our discussions of a single phase full converter for alpha greater than 90 degrees. So we have first of all in the previous lecture studied the operation of a single phase converter for RL load for alpha less than 90 degrees. For alpha less than 90 degrees, we have seen that it results in continuous conduction mode of operation. Positive area is always much larger than negative area, and average load voltage is always positive, and current is continuous. So for alpha less than 90 degrees, we can have continuous conduction mode of operation, but for alpha equal to 90 degrees and alpha greater than 90 degrees, we always get discontinuous conduction mode of operation, as was discussed in today's lecture. Okay, but in all the three cases, average load voltage is positive. We don't have average load voltage equal to 0. Fine. So this was operation analysis of a single phase full converter for RL load for different delay angles, alpha less than 90 degrees, alpha equal to 90 degrees, and alpha greater than 90 degrees. For alpha less than 90 degrees, continuous conduction mode of operation may result. For alpha equal to 90 degrees or alpha greater than 90 degrees, we always get discontinuous conduction mode of operation. But average load voltage in all the three cases is always positive. Fine. Now let us discuss the operation of a single phase full converter for fourth type of load category, that is RLE load. First we discuss for purely resistive load, second purely inductive load, then RL load, and the fourth load category is active load, that is RLE load. RLE load is an active load. The example may be a DC motor or a battery. So your load may be a DC motor or a battery. So our load is now RLE load. So load has a resistive component R, it has inductive component L, and it has its own EMF E. This is RLE load. Load voltage is VD, and this is positive bus, this is negative bus, and load current is ID. And source voltage is VS, source current is IS. Here again we will first discuss operation of single phase full converter for RLE load or active load for alpha less than 90 degrees, and then for alpha greater than 90 degrees. So case 1, alpha less than 90 degrees. So when we discuss operation with alpha less than 90 degrees, again here we can have continuous conduction mode of operation, or we can have discontinuous conduction mode of operation. So first of all, we discuss discontinuous conduction mode of operation. So it will be clear to us with the help of waveforms. Graphical approach, waveforms are very, very important. It is not possible to understand the operation, and it is simply impossible to analyze any converter circuit without waveform approach, without graphical approach. So this graphical approach or waveforms, these are very, very important for understanding and analyzing various types of converters. So this is our source voltage waveform. These are zero crossing, 0, pi, 2 pi, 3 pi, and so on. And let us show the firing pulse pattern. Alpha less than 90 degrees. Let's assume this is alpha. So I will show you the firing pulse pattern, IG, gating current pattern, IG. So this is alpha. Alpha is less than, it's around 60 degrees here. So here firing pulse after a delay of alpha is issued during the positive half cycle to T1, T3 pair of devices, T1, T3. And next firing instant takes place in the negative half cycle. In the negative half cycle, this is pi plus alpha. This is pi plus alpha. Firing pulse has to be issued to other pair of devices, T2, T4. T2, T4. In the next positive half cycle, again firing pulse is issued to T1, T3 pair, and in the next negative half cycle, firing pulse has to be again issued to other pair, T2, T4, and so on. So this shows how your control logic circuit should function. During each positive half cycle, your control logic circuit after alpha degrees, it should, after a delay of alpha, it should issue firing pulses to T1, T3 pairs simultaneously. And in each negative half cycle, your control logic circuit should issue firing pulse to other pair of devices, T2, T4 simultaneously after alpha degrees. Now let us show the load voltage waveform and load current waveform. Here again, we assume this is E. This is the EMF of the load, the voltage of the load, and this is alpha min. As you know, alpha min, there is a minimum firing angle or minimum delay angle, is equal to sine inverse E by Vm. And this is the point of intersection between source voltage. This is your source voltage Vs and loads AMF. This point is the point of minimum delay angle alpha min, which is given by sine inverse E by Vm, as we already know. So I have assumed my delay angle slightly more than this alpha min here, as you can see. So our load voltage waveform will be something like this. Let me draw these zero crossing projections. This is pi, this is 2 pi, this is 3 pi, 4 pi, and so on. So this is my load voltage waveform. For example, this may be my load voltage waveform. Let me first of all draw this. And this is the firing instant. First firing occurs here, and this is E. Let us suppose this is E. This is E. Now you can see here at this point, firing pulse is issued to T1, and a positive half cycle of source voltage is there. T1 T3 pair is fired. So before the firing of T1 T3, let us assume no device was fired previously, there was no previous conduction. We start our conduction right from here. So all the four devices were off. Load was disconnected from the source. And what was load voltage? Load voltage is not zero. Load has its own voltage. So load voltage is equal to its own voltage from 0 to alpha. This is alpha. So it is equal to E. It is E. At alpha, firing pulse is issued to T1 T3 pair. It immediately goes into conduction, connects your load directly across the source, and the remaining segment of positive half cycle of source voltage appears across the load. So if this is first firing, this is the next firing, this is the next firing instant, this is the next firing instant, this is the next firing instant. We should always first of all show these firing instants. Okay, fine. From alpha to pi, your load voltage is same as remaining segment of positive half cycle of source voltage. And what happens to the load current? ID. ID starts rising. So ID rises, it reaches maximum value not at pi but between pi by 2 and pi, because we have RL type load, we don't have purely inductive load. So it reaches maximum value somewhere here. So this is our, if this is VD, this is ID, load current ID. It reached maximum value somewhere here, and then it starts falling and it becomes zero here at beta. So since we are assuming discontinuous conduction mode of operation, we assume that current before next instant of firing, it becomes zero. Okay, and then when next instant of firing occurs, current again rises, it reaches maximum value here, and then it again falls. Then current again rises and it falls. Current again rises and it falls. So this is the nature of load current waveform. So load voltage from alpha to pi, since T1 T3 pair is conducting, T1 and T3 pair is conducting from alpha to pi, load voltage is same as source voltage, so it receives the remaining segment of positive half cycle of source voltage from alpha to pi. After pi, what happens? Source voltage reverses its polarity, so source voltage becomes plus minus like this, and T1, since current has not reached zero, it is still flowing beyond pi. So T1 and T3 will continue to conduct. So through T1, this negative potential will reach here, and through T3, this positive potential will reach here. That means load receives the negative voltage. So load voltage is negative segment of source voltage, and this is the negative segment of source voltage. A small negative segment of source voltage will appear across the load. This is the negative segment of source voltage. Uske baad, what will happen? From pi to beta, load voltage is same as source voltage, negative segment. From beta to, this is your 2 pi, this is your pi plus alpha, next instant of firing. Since current has already become zero, so load current is equal to zero, load is disconnected from the source. So load voltage is not zero. For RL load, from beta to pi plus alpha, load voltage was zero. But here, from beta to pi plus alpha, load voltage will be same as load's own voltage, EMF, load's own EMF. So this is load voltage. This is equal to E for small period. And then at this instant, you can see this instant is pi plus alpha. Let me first of all show from T1 and T3 pair conducts from alpha to beta. And then from beta to pi plus alpha, no device is conducting, load current is 0, so load voltage is equal to E. And at pi plus alpha, so negative half cycle of source voltage is there, T2 T4 pair is fired, and when T2 T4 pair is fired, the load gets connected to the source and load voltage is again equal to remaining segment of source voltage, positive voltage of course. So this is your load voltage. And from 2 pi to 2 pi plus beta, load T2 T4 pair continues to conduct and load voltage is equal to, it receives the negative segment of source voltage. And then from 2 pi plus beta to 2 pi plus alpha, that is next instant of firing, current has already become 0, so load voltage is equal to E. This is E. And then it repeats. You can see it is like this, positive segment of voltage, small negative segment of voltage, and then E again. This is E. So this is the nature of load voltage. So therefore here we T1 T3 conducts from alpha to beta, and T2 T4 conducts from pi plus alpha to 2 pi plus alpha, 2 pi plus beta. This is T2 T4, and then again here T1 T3 conducts, and then again here T2 T4 pair conducts. So therefore we identify here two regions, two intervals. One is from alpha to beta, that is called thyristor conduction interval. So we identify two intervals. One is thyristor conduction interval. Thyristor conduction interval, that is from alpha to beta. You can see that's from alpha to beta. And during this period, your load voltage is same as source voltage, a large positive segment of source voltage and a small negative segment of source voltage. So we can say load voltage is same as source voltage. And the next interval is from beta to pi plus alpha. And during this beta to pi plus alpha, your current is already 0, load is disconnected from the source. So which interval is this? And what is load voltage? Load voltage is equal to E, its own voltage. So this is called coasting interval. Coasting interval. And this coasting interval is from beta to next instant of firing, that is pi plus alpha. And during this period, Vd is equal to E. You don't have any freewheeling interval here, because full converter does not result in, there is nothing like freewheeling in a full converter. So therefore for discontinuous conduction mode of operation for alpha less than 90 degrees, we have identified two intervals. One is thyristor conduction interval, that is alpha to beta, for which period load voltage is same as source voltage, Vd is equal to Vs. And then coasting interval, you can see these are the coasting intervals. During the coasting interval, that is from beta to pi plus alpha, thyristor is all the thyristors are off, load current is 0, load is disconnected from the source, and load voltage is equal to its own EMF, Vd is equal to E. So this is for discontinuous conduction mode of operation. Let us now assume that conduction is continuous. So these two waveforms I will preserve, and I will just draw the load voltage waveform. Now let us take the second case. For alpha less than 90 degrees, let us go for continuous conduction mode of operation, CCM. Assuming that current is continuous, it is not becoming discontinuous at all. So this is 0 crossing 0, this is pi, this is 2 pi, this is 3 pi, this is 4 pi, and so on. And load voltage waveform, we have to draw the load voltage waveform. This is the first instant of firing. So that means इसके नीचे जो है E है. This is E, just below this. This is E. If this is the first instant of firing, this will be the next instant of firing. It is better that you first show these instants of firing. This is the next instant of firing, and this is the next instant of firing. So this is alpha. From 0 to alpha, no device is fired. And what is your load voltage? Your load voltage is same as voltage of the load itself, E. But hold on, let's see what happens. At omega t equal to alpha, positive half cycle of source voltage is there. You have positive half cycle of source voltage. And firing pulse is simultaneously issued to T1, T3 pair, and T1, T3 pair conducts and load gets connected directly across the source, and it receives the remaining segment of positive half cycle of source voltage. This is the load voltage. It is remaining segment of positive half cycle of source voltage. So this is your load voltage VD. And what will happen to the current? Let's assume current is continuous. Previously also current was flowing. It is continuous. It reaches maximum value somewhere here, and then it decreases. But it does not become zero at beta. It continues till next instant of firing. And when next firing takes place, it again rises and falls. It rises, falls. So that means current is continuous. This is your load current waveform, VD. So you get the continuous conduction. This is load current waveform, ID. So it is continuously flowing. It is not becoming zero at all. So we are considering continuous conduction mode of operation. You know what are the reasons for making load current continuous. Alpha may be small, E may be small, load inductance may be high, load current may be stronger, and so on, or a combination of many of these causes. So these causes, or a combination of these causes, has already made load current continuous. Now what happens from, this is pi and this is next instant of firing, pi plus alpha. From pi to pi plus alpha, since load current is still flowing, and previously at alpha, T1, T3 pair was triggered, T1, T3 pair will continue to conduct till next instant of firing. And when source voltage reverses its polarity, that means source voltage becomes negative. But T1, T3 pair continues to conduct, so load voltage receives the negative segment of source voltage. It becomes negative. This is the negative segment of source voltage. So load voltage from pi to pi plus alpha, it becomes negative, as you can see. And then at pi plus alpha, firing takes place. Which pair of devices is fired? T2, T4. When T2, T4 is fired, load voltage again becomes positive. It receives the positive segment of source voltage. So load voltage is again positive. You can see from pi plus alpha to 2 pi plus alpha, then source voltage becomes negative, but T2, T4 pair continues to conduct and load receives negative segment of voltage, and you can continue like this. So this is the nature of load voltage. And from alpha to pi plus alpha, that means from first firing instant to next firing instant, T1, T3 pair is conducting. From pi plus alpha to 2 pi plus alpha, that means from this firing instant to next firing instant, T2, T4 pair is conducting. Then from this firing instant to next firing instant, T1, T3 pair is again conducting. And from this firing instant to next firing instant, T2, T4 pair is again conducting, and so on. So therefore, you can see your load voltage is like this. That means previously also your load voltage was negative, because we are assuming continuous conduction mode of operation. So this is the nature of your load voltage. Your load voltage is like this. Current is continuous. Your load voltage is having a large positive segment and a small negative segment. So average load voltage will be positive, of course. So since load current is continuous, E does not show, although E is there, E does not show its presence in the load voltage. We have already discussed it with semi-converter also previously. When current is continuous, your load voltage, you have only one interval, that's thyristor conduction interval. You don't have any other interval. So you have only one interval, that is thyristor conduction interval. For example, your thyristor conduction interval is from alpha to pi plus alpha, and during this period T1, T3 pair of thyristors is conducting. And from pi plus alpha to 2 pi plus alpha, you have again thyristor conduction interval, during which period T2, T4 pair is conducting. And then again T1, T3 pair conducting, then again T2, T4 pair conducting. You don't have any coasting interval here. So you have only thyristor conduction interval, that is from alpha to pi plus alpha. pi plus alpha. And during this entire period, what is your load voltage? Load voltage is same as source voltage. You can see from alpha to pi, load receives a large positive segment of voltage, and from pi to pi plus alpha, it receives a small negative segment of voltage. So that means from alpha to pi plus alpha, your load voltage is same as source voltage. So your Vd is equal to Vs. Similarly, from pi plus alpha to 2 pi plus alpha, your load voltage is same as source voltage. So here you don't have any coasting interval, you have only thyristor conduction interval. Either this pair of thyristors is conducting or this pair of thyristors is conducting. When this pair of thyristors is conducting, your load voltage is same as source voltage. And when this pair of thyristors is conducting, again your load voltage is same as source voltage. So that means load's EMF does not appear in the load voltage. It does not show its presence in the load voltage. See, you should remember that E shows its presence only when current becomes discontinuous. That when current becomes discontinuous, your load is disconnected from the source. And then in that case, load voltage is equal to E. But since your current is not becoming discontinuous at all at any instant, so you have only thyristor conduction intervals, you don't have any coasting interval, so load voltage is equal to source voltage. So this is the operation of a single phase full converter for RLE load for alpha less than 90 degrees, but CCM, continuous conduction mode of operation. Let us now see what happens for alpha greater than 90 degrees. Case 2, alpha greater than 90 degrees. If you remember, for alpha greater than 90 degrees, inversion mode of operation should take place, because you know when you have drawn the your load voltage expression for load voltages, Vd is equal to 2 root 2 Vs by pi cos alpha. From 0 to, this is 0 to 90 degrees, 90 to 180 degrees. So this is the nature of your load voltage. This is positive Vd max at alpha equal to 0 degrees, and at alpha equal to 180 degrees, this is minus Vd max. So from 0 to 90 degrees, the converter operates in rectification mode and produces positive average voltage. From 90 to 180 degrees, converter works in the inversion mode of operation and produces average negative voltage. And that I told you in the last lecture that that is possible only when the load is active. It's not possible with passive loads. We have already analyzed the operation of a single phase full converter for purely resistive load, for purely inductive load, for RL load. And in all those types of loads, we have analyzed the operation for alpha less than 90 degrees as well as for alpha greater than 90 degrees. For alpha greater than 90 degrees, for R load, L load, RL load, we have seen that inversion mode does not occur. Your average output voltage never becomes negative. It always remains positive for R load and RL load. And for L load, it becomes zero. It's always zero. Whether you know alpha is 90 degrees or alpha is greater than 90 degrees, average load voltage is always zero for purely inductive load. Let us take the practical loads, R and RL load. For R load, alpha greater than 90 degrees will still produce positive average output voltage. You have seen that in those waveforms. And for RL load also, just few moments back, we have seen what happens when alpha is greater than 90 degrees. For alpha greater than 90 degrees, again your average output voltage is positive. If you remember, just I will recall, your positive segment was more than negative segment. Your load voltage was something like this for RL load, alpha greater than 90 degrees. So since positive segment was slightly more than negative segment, okay, your average load voltage was positive. This was your average load voltage positive, even for alpha greater than 90 degrees. But this equation tells you that for alpha greater than 90 degrees, average load voltage should be negative. Okay, so this is possible only for continuous conduction. This I told you last time that this equation is valid for continuous conduction mode of operation. And continuous conduction mode of operation will not happen for RL load for alpha greater than 90 degrees. That's not possible. It is possible only when you have active load, RLE load. So therefore, for alpha greater than 90 degrees, your converter average output voltage should be negative. That is possible only if your load is not passive load, it is active load. Your R load, L load and RL load, they are all passive loads. They do not have their own energy. Your RLE load is active load. RLE load may be a motor load. And when motor operates as a generator, it generates the energy and it can supply energy back to the source. And in that case, if you operate your converter at alpha greater than 90 degrees, the converter will operate in the inversion mode of operation, and your average output voltage will be negative. Let us see how. Let us try to see how that happens. So before I draw the various waveforms, so for alpha less than 90 degrees, your equivalent circuit of the converter was like this. Let me draw the equivalent circuit. This was the equivalent circuit. This is the converter average output voltage, VD. Okay, converter produces, this is your converter, it produces some output voltage and its average value is VD. And we know this VD may be given by this equation or maybe some other equation. If your converter is operating in continuous conduction mode of operation, then this VD will be 2 root 2 Vs by cos alpha. So this is converter average output voltage. I am drawing the equivalent circuit. And what is on this side? On this side you have a load. Let us suppose you have an RLE load. RLE load. And what is your load voltage? Load voltage is VD and load current is ID. Okay. And average, of course, load voltage is, let me show you the average load voltage. Average load voltage is VD and load current is ID. Okay. This is plus, this is minus. Now, in this case, since average load voltage is VD and current is ID, you can say this VD should be slightly greater than E, the EMF of the load, in order to push current ID. So you see, if this VD is less than E, current cannot flow from low potential to high potential. So VD has to be slightly greater than E. That means, for example, if you this RLE load is your DC motor, and if this is back EMF of the motor, let us assume E is 195 volts. Back EMF of the motor is 195 volts. So in order to push the current and make power to flow from source to the load, VD should be greater than E. So your VD, let your VD be equal to 200 volts. So you can see what is VD minus E. It is 200 minus 195, that is 5 volts. So since VD is 200 volts, it is greater than E. So difference between the two voltages is 5 volts, and this 5 volts difference pushes a current ID like this. And hence there is the flow of power from this side to this side. There is power is taken from AC side, it is converted into DC, and it is fed to the load. And if your load is motor, your motor starts producing torque and starts running at a given speed. Okay, so therefore for rectification mode of operation, alpha less than 90 degrees, this is the equivalent circuit of your converter feeding an RLE load, say a motor load. VD is positive, E is also positive, but this VD, here is slightly greater than E, so that current flows in this direction, and there is the flow of power, PD, power flows from AC side to DC side. The AC power, AC side power is, this is AC, this converter converts this power into DC and feeds power to the load. So therefore, in that case, your converter operates the rectification mode of operation. You can see average output voltage is positive. It produces the positive average output voltage. Current is also positive, so it operates in the first quadrant. This is ID, this is VD. Your converter operates in the first quadrant, where voltage is positive, current is also positive. So power, which is equal to VD into ID, is also positive. So that means power flows from source to load. This is the direction of power. It comes from source, flows into the load. And since your converter converts AC into DC, and DC power is fed to the load, so it operates in the rectification mode of operation. Now, if the same converter is operating for alpha greater than 90 degrees, now let us see what happens if alpha is greater than 90 degrees. So for alpha greater than 90 degrees, inversion mode of operation should take place. So for alpha greater than 90 degrees, what is converter average output voltage? It is negative now. So negative means polarity converter की output voltage की change हो जाएगी. So now this will become minus, this will become plus. Here it was plus, it was minus because average output voltage was positive for alpha less than 90 degrees. For alpha greater than 90 degrees, average output voltage has to be negative. So this terminal has to be positive with respect to this, just opposite of this polarity. And your load should be now connected like this. Load की polarity भी आपको change करनी है. You have to change the polarity of load EMF also. So this is E, this is R, L, and this is E. Current will flow in the same direction. So now what is your load voltage? This is your load voltage plus minus VD. Average load voltage is negative now. This is plus, this is minus, because alpha is greater than 90 degrees. And your load's EMF has also been reversed. Now we can see this is your average output voltage plus minus VD, and this is load. See, you have now two sources. You have E and you have, see here you have another EMF, say VD. You can show this VD as a source, voltage source. So this is E, this is. Now current, since it flows in the same direction, current has to flow in this direction. Now current should flow from E to VD. In the previous case, current was flowing, you can see for rectification mode of operation for alpha less than 90 degrees, current was flowing from VD to E. See, this is your VD in that case, in the previous case. And this was your, for example, E. And current was flowing from VD to ED. So that means converter was forcing current, injecting current into the load, into E. But here what happens? For alpha greater than 90 degrees, converter average output voltage VD reverses its polarity, and you make your load voltage also to reverse its polarity. You just interchange the connections like this, and E becomes like this. Now you can see, since current has to flow in the same direction, current does not. See, remember one thing, current always has same direction. It flows in this direction always. Direction of current cannot reverse. The reason being, current, since this converter comprises of thyristors, SCRs, in a thyristor, current always flows from anode to cathode. If agar aap ye kehte hai that direction of current has reversed, then the current has to flow from cathode to anode. That is not possible. An SCR is a unidirectional device. It conducts only from anode to cathode. So therefore, direction of current will be always like this. It cannot be like this, because if direction of current was like this, then current has to flow through thyristors from cathode to anode, which is not possible. Thyristors are unidirectional devices. Current always flows from anode to cathode, so direction of current remains constant. That's what I am showing. Direction of current is same, ID. It is same. It does not change. What changes is polarity of the converter average output voltage. Your converter average output voltage for alpha greater than 90 degrees, it becomes negative. You have reversed the polarity of your load voltage also, load EMF also. Now current flows like this. You can see now current is not flowing from VD to E. This is your VD and this is your E. Current is flowing from E to VD. In the previous case for alpha less than 90 degrees, current was flowing from VD to E. You can see VD to E, current was flowing. So that means current was flowing from AC side to DC side. I mean from source to load. In this case, current is injected by E. It is flowing from E to VD. That means power, now that means power is flowing from load to source. Because current is flowing from, so in order to make current to flow from E to VD, E has to be slightly greater than VD. So that means if your VD is, for example, 200 volts, your E should be, say, greater than, say, 205 volts. So E should be greater than VD. So that is why when E is greater than VD, current always flows from higher potential to lower potential. So there will be reverse flow. I mean, the current will flow from E to VD. For rectification mode of operation, current was flowing from VD to E. So current flowing from VD to E means that power, there is a flow of power from source to load. Now in this case, for inversion mode of operation for alpha greater than 90 degrees, load voltage, average load voltage has reversed its polarity, and load EMF also you have reversed its polarity. And since direction of current is same as in the previous case, now you can see current is not injected from VD to E, it is injected from E to VD. Okay, since current flows from DC side to AC side, it's injected from E to VD. So that means inversion mode of operation is occurring. That means your energy flows back to the source. When current flows from VD to E, energy comes from AC side and it goes into the DC side, from input to output. And when current flows from ED to VD, okay, as in this case for inversion mode of operation, that means energy flows in the reverse direction. Power flows from DC side to AC side. So in this case, direction of power is reversed. Okay, now your quadrant operation, your converter is operating in the fourth quadrant, and in the fourth quadrant you already know direction of current is same, ID is positive, same, but the polarity of voltage is reversed. Here it was plus minus, here it is plus minus. Polarity of voltage is reversed, and your PD is product of voltage into current minus VD into ID. Since average load voltage is negative, power is negative, and negative power means power is flowing from load to source. Okay, for rectification mode of operation, direction of power flow is from AC side to DC side, that's source to load. And for inversion mode of operation, direction of power flow is from DC side to AC side, that means from load to source. Okay, so therefore with active load it is only possible with, say देखिए अगर आपका ये E यहाँ नहीं होता, E would not have been there. Was it possible for current to flow? I mean, since there was no source of energy, there was no energy would have been injected from DC side to AC side. Now it is only because of this source of energy, E, the load has its own source of energy, and it is this energy source, load's own energy, which makes power or energy to flow from load to source. So therefore, inversion mode of operation is possible only for active load, RLE load. It is not possible. You have previously seen for alpha greater than 90 degrees, for RL load, average output voltage is still positive. But for RLE load, active load, we have seen for alpha greater than 90 degrees, your average output voltage is negative, not positive. And for that means from 90 to 180 degrees, average output voltage is negative, and your converter takes energy from DC, converts that DC back into AC. Our DC energy AC में convert हो जाती है, and it is fed back to the source. So since DC is converted back into AC, energy flows from load to source, your same converter operates as inverter. Inverter means it converts DC into AC. It takes energy from DC side, converts that into AC, and injects that and feeds that back to the source. So your converter is operating in inversion mode of operation. So it is possible only with active load. So therefore, let me draw various waveforms for your reference. So for alpha greater than 90 degrees, the waveforms will be like this. Very interesting to watch these, to see these waveforms. This is your source voltage. Source voltage waveform, Vs, pi, 2 pi, 3 pi, and so on. And now alpha. See, for inversion mode of operation, remember, when you go from rectification mode of operation to inversion mode of operation, the polarity of this load voltage has to be reversed. Because polarity of load voltage reverses, the polarity of this voltage also has to be reversed. So this has to be minus, this has to be plus. And your average load voltage will be negative. Let me show you. Plus minus, this will be your average load voltage, VD. So what happens? If this is your DC motor, you have to reverse the polarity of your back EMF of DC motor. So let me redraw this power circuit diagram again. These are the thyristors T1, T2, T3, T4. This is source voltage Vs, source current is Is. And let us assume we have a DC motor. Armature resistance is Ra, armature circuit inductance is La, and this is the back EMF of the motor. Now what you have to do? You have to reverse the polarity of back EMF of the motor. This is the back EMF of motor E, or you can call this EB. And your converter average output voltage is also negative because you are operating at alpha greater than 90 degrees. So your average output voltage VD is negative, but current direction is same, ID. ID is same. Now you can see current flows from E to VD. And for rectification mode of operation, it was flowing from VD to E. Now it flows from E to VD. So there is, power energy taken from this DC motor, it is supplied back to the source. Fine. Now, since you have reversed the polarity of your DC motor EMF, so previously it was like this for rectification mode EB, for inversion mode you have reversed its polarity, so ये यहाँ पे आ जाएगा negative side में. So this is your E or EB. And since alpha is greater than 90 degrees, let's assume this is our alpha. This is first instant of firing, this is second instant of firing, this is next instant of firing, this is next instant of firing. And let me show you the gating current pattern, firing pulse pattern, IG. This is alpha. At alpha you can see it is greater than 90 degrees. And here which pair of devices is conducted? T1, T3, because positive half cycle of source voltage is there, T1, T3 pair has to be fired. And during the negative half cycle of source voltage, next instant of firing is here, and this is pi plus alpha, pi plus alpha. And which pair of devices has to be fired? T2, T4 pair has to be fired. And then again T1, T3 pair is fired, then here again T2, T4 pair is fired. Let me show you the load voltage waveform and load current waveform. So these are the zero crossings, pi, 2 pi, 3 pi, 4 pi, and so on. And your load voltage waveform will be like this. Let us try to draw the load voltage waveform. And this is your back EMF of the motor, EB. It's negative because you have reversed the polarity of this. Now this is alpha. Alpha is greater than 90 degrees, so this is your alpha, which is greater than 90. It is around 120, 130 degrees. So as soon as firing pulse during the positive half cycle of source voltage is issued, this is the positive half cycle of source voltage, it is issued to T1, T3 pair. Your load gets, they go into conduction, load gets connected to the source, and load receives the remaining segment of positive half cycle of source voltage. This is the remaining segment of positive half cycle of source voltage. Let us assume current during this period rises. It reaches some maximum value. Agar a first instant of firing hai, let me first of all show the instants of firing. This is the next instant of firing, this is the next instant of firing, this is the next instant. If current is continuous, this is your load current ID. It increases and it decreases. But before it becomes zero, next instant of firing comes, it again increases, decreases. So let us assume continuous current is flowing. So previously also some current was flowing. Continuous current operation is there. Okay. So from alpha to pi, your load voltage is equal to positive half segment of the source voltage, segment of positive half cycle of source voltage. And then from pi to next instant of firing, this instant is pi plus alpha. From pi to pi plus alpha, source voltage has reversed its polarity. Your source voltage has reversed its polarity. It has become plus minus like this. And T1, here T1, T3 pair was fired. A T1, T3 pair will continue to conduct because current is continuous. And since T1 is conducting, this negative terminal comes here, and since T3 is conducting, the positive terminal comes here. So your load receives large negative segment of voltage. So this is your load voltage. Large negative segment of voltage appears across the load. And then here, firing of T2, T4 pair takes place. As T2, T4 pair fires, load is again connected to the source and it receives a small positive segment of source voltage, as you already know. I don't need to explain it again and again. No need to repeat. A small positive segment of voltage appears across the load. So that means from alpha to, this is pi plus alpha, T1, T3 pair was conducting, and here T2, T4 pair is fired. And this T2, T4 pair will conduct from pi plus alpha to 2 pi plus alpha. We complete. So therefore, from pi plus alpha to 2 pi, a small positive segment of voltage appears across the load, and from 2 pi to 2 pi plus alpha, a large negative segment of voltage appears across the load. And then again, a small positive segment of voltage and a large negative segment of voltage. So this is the nature of load voltage waveform. Since we are assuming continuous conduction mode of operation, EB again does not show its presence in the load voltage because you have only thyristor conduction intervals. Either T1, T3 is conducting or T2, T4 is conducting. Your load voltage is like this. So that means previously also your load voltage was negative. If you assume that previously also conduction was already taking place. Now you can see for inversion mode of operation, The negative segments of voltage are much larger than positive segment of voltage. This is small positive segment of voltage. This is very large negative segment of voltage. So therefore, what will be average load voltage? Average load voltage will be negative. This is average load voltage minus VD, because negative areas are larger than positive areas. So therefore, if you find average load voltage will be negative. That's what I have shown. So since average load voltage is negative, your converter operates in the inversion mode of operation. Current is positive, but voltage is negative. So what is power? Power is voltage into current. Since voltage is negative, power is negative. That is, power is not flowing from AC side to DC side or input to output. Power is flowing from DC side to AC side. That is from output to input. But that is possible only, the energy flow from load to source is possible only if load has its own energy. And since this is the motor may be operating as a generator, and as a generator, it generates its own energy and supplies that energy back to the source. So this explains inversion mode of operation. So therefore, for alpha less than 90 degrees, for active load, your converter operates in the rectification mode, and there is flow of energy from input to output, source to load. And for alpha greater than 90 degrees, converter average output voltage is negative. So converter operates in the inversion mode of operation, and energy flows in the reverse direction. The power flows from DC side to AC side, that means output to input. So therefore, it is possible for us to operate our converter in the rectification mode or inversion mode. In the rectification mode, if delay angle is between 0 and 90 degrees, and in the inversion mode, if delay angle is varied 90 to 180 degrees. And for rectification mode, power flow will be from source to load, and for inversion mode, power flow will be from load to source. But that is possible only in case of an active load, like a DC motor load or a battery load, which has its own energy. Now, the question is, if this is your DC motor, see, this is your this is converter average output voltage, VD, and this is your DC motor. So let us first of all take rectification mode of operation. For rectification mode of operation, average output voltage is positive. Average output voltage is plus minus VD. And motor's back EMF is also positive. This is RA, LA. Motor has some field windings. So let us suppose this is separately excited motor. Field winding has this polarity, and field current is flowing like this. Okay, and then current flows like this, and so average output voltage is positive. Power flows from AC side to DC side. Now, for inversion mode of operation, this is for alpha less than 90 degrees. Rectification mode of operation. For alpha greater than 90 degrees, that means for inversion mode of operation, converter average output voltage should be negative. It should reverse its polarity. So your DC motor back EMF should also reverse its polarity. And how can you reverse the polarity of DC motor? There are two ways. Number one, disconnect this armature and flip the armature terminals like this. Or number two, change the direction of field current. I mean, if field voltage was plus minus like this, it was resulting in the flow of field current. So reverse the field voltage. So that will result in opposite flow of the field current. Field current direction will change. When flux changes its, when field current changes its direction, flux also changes, reverses. So back EMF will become negative, plus minus. So I can show that here. This is RA, this is LA, and this your back EMF will become negative, plus minus EB. But you should remember that this field circuit is, so see, field current is now reversed. The field circuit is highly inductive. When you change the direction of field current, it takes large time for field current to change from one direction to another direction because of highly inductive nature of the field circuit. So therefore, the response of the drive or response of the motor will be very, very slow. For fast response, therefore, it is not recommended to change the direction of field current because of slow response, because of highly inductive nature of field circuit. So what is done? The armature terminals are flipped. armature terminals are flipped like this. I mean, if this is your converter average output voltage, which is negative now, what we do, अगर आपका armature circuit ये है, this is RA, this is LA, this is plus minus EB, we flip the connections. This is connected here, and this is connected here. So therefore, negative is connected to negative, positive terminal is connected to positive. So this gives equivalent circuit diagram like this. This is your VD. तो आपका इस तरह आ जाता है. This is RA, LA, and this is minus plus EB. So plus plus minus minus. So this is same as this. So how it is actually done? I mean, do you? How will you do it? Will you use a mechanical switch for doing this? That is not practicable. Inshallah, in our next class, we will study about dual converter, and the dual converter you will see how the polarity of back EMF is reversed and how inversion operation takes place. Fine. Now, as you already know, if this is your source voltage waveform, let me take one cycle, 0, pi, 2 pi, and for sufficiently inductive load, if you go back, turn the pages of your notebook, this is the nature of load current. Load current is plus ID from alpha to pi plus alpha, and from pi plus alpha to 2 pi plus alpha, it is minus ID. We have already discussed it when we were discussing operation of a single phase full converter for highly inductive load. Highly inductive load means load was modeled as current source. Current, and if this is source voltage, this is your source current IS. Now this source current will have a fundamental component also. Its fundamental component will be like this. The source current is rectangular in nature. It is highly distorted. This is fundamental component of source current IS1. Now you can see the fundamental component of source current lags behind voltage by a phase angle phi1. And in this case, for a fully controlled converter, phi1 is equal to alpha, whereas you have seen in semi-converter, phi1 is alpha by 2. Just go back and see. Here, phi1 is same as alpha. This is alpha. First firing occurs here. So this is phi1. Phi1 is the phase angle by which fundamental component of source current IS1 lags behind the voltage. So it lags behind the voltage by phi1, and phi1 is exactly equal to delay angle or firing angle alpha. So phi1 is equal to alpha. Now what is input power factor? I am interested in finding input power factor, IPF. If you remember, we have already derived the expression for input power factor. This is I1 by I into cos phi1. Okay. Now I1, what is I1? It is RMS value of fundamental component of source current. Fundamental component of source current. So it is same as IS1. Okay. And what is I? I is RMS value of the actual source current. RMS value of actual source current. Actual source current. Now your actual source current is equal to ID. It is from alpha to pi plus alpha, it is plus ID. From pi plus alpha to 2 pi plus alpha, it is minus ID. So this is your actual source current. So let us assume alpha equal to 0 degree. So we will redraw the waveform for alpha equal to 0 degree. This is your source voltage waveform, 0, pi, 2 pi. So this is source voltage waveform Vs. So alpha मैं assume कर रहा हूँ. This is your source current Is. It from 0 to pi it is equal to plus ID, and from pi to 2 pi it is equal to minus ID. And it has a fundamental component. This is its fundamental component. This is fundamental component of source current IS1. This is for alpha equal to 0 degree. You remember one thing, that the source current is like this. It is very rich in harmonics. We have already discussed about it. The source current is not sinusoidal. It is distorted. It is non-sinusoidal. It is rectangular in nature. And if you apply the Fourier series, it will comprise of a fundamental component, which is this, and a series of harmonics. It will have odd harmonics. It will have third harmonic, it will have fifth harmonic, it will have seventh harmonic, ninth, 11th, 13th, and other higher order harmonics. So all odd harmonics will be present in this. Third harmonic component will have a frequency of 3 times fundamental. Fifth harmonic component will have a frequency of 5 times fundamental, and so on. So therefore, if you want to find the input power factor is given by this expression, I1 by I cos phi 1, where I1 is the RMS value of fundamental component of source current. This is my fundamental component of source current. I am interested in finding its RMS value. And I is the RMS value of actual current. If you find the RMS value of actual current, it is simply equal to ID, because I is equal to either plus ID or minus ID. Its RMS value same as load current. Source current is same as load current, so its RMS value is ID. So I know I is ID. What is I1? I1 is the fundamental component of RMS value of fundamental component of source current. This is my fundamental component of source current. I am interested in finding its RMS value. For that purpose, I have to use the Fourier series. So if you apply the Fourier series, according to Fourier series, you have a function f t that is equal to a naught by 2 plus summation n equal to 1 to infinity an cos n omega t plus bn sin n omega t, where a naught is DC component of function and an and bn, they are called Fourier coefficients. I hope you have already studied Fourier series. So an and bn are called Fourier coefficients. What is an? An is given by this expression, 2 by t integration from minus t by 2 to plus t by 2 f of t cos n omega t d omega t, and bn, which is another Fourier coefficient. It is given by this expression, 2 by t integration minus t by 2 to plus t by 2 f of t sin n omega t d omega t. Remember this. Now this source current waveform, it has odd symmetry. What is odd symmetry? You must remember, odd symmetry means, for example, if you have a waveform like this, say you have this type of waveform. So at t, you take its value, and at minus t, you find its instantaneous value. You find that at f of minus t, value of function, this is our f of t, ft function. At minus t, its value is this much, and it is exactly equal and opposite to the value at f of t. So f of minus t is equal to minus f of t. So it is, if it is minus 2 here, it will be plus 2 here. So f of minus t is equal to minus times f of t. Such type of waveform is said to have odd symmetry. Odd symmetry. And odd symmetry means it will have only sine functions. There will be no cosine functions, because it is a sinusoidal waveform. Now on the other hand, if you take cosine wave like this is a cosine wave. See, this is a cosine wave, ये cos wave है. इसमें भी आप यही logic use करो, ये f of t और minus t ले लो. So what is f of minus t? F of minus t is this value. F of t is also this value. F of minus t is same as f of t. Such waveform is said to have even symmetry. Even symmetry, and it will have only cosine functions. It will have no sine function. So therefore your source current waveform is like this. अगर आप ये देखेंगे, इसमें ये apply होता है, f of minus t is equal to minus f of t. You can see f of minus t is equal to minus f of t. So this current, source current waveform, its fundamental component is having odd symmetry. It has only sine function. So since it is not cosine function, it is sine function. So therefore all those terms where cosine functions involved है वो zero हो जाएगी. That therefore, since I1 current waveform has odd symmetry, it has odd symmetry. It will have only cosine waveforms. So it will have only sine waveforms, sine functions. So it will have Bn, An will not be there because An involves cosine functions. So An will be equal to 0. I will also write, see, A naught is DC component. DC component means अगर आपकी waveform ऊपर shifted हो या नीचे shifted हो, it's not like that. Plus ID is exactly equal to minus ID. So there is no DC component. So therefore, since there is no DC component, A naught is also 0. So A naught is 0, An is also 0. So we are left with Bn. So therefore, our wave, this mathematical expression gets modified to, so therefore, f of omega t is equal to A naught is 0 because there is no DC component in this current waveform. So it is equal to summation n equal to 1 to infinity. An is 0 because our waveform has odd symmetry. It does not have even symmetry. It does not have cosine terms. It has only sine terms. Bn sine n omega t. Okay. Now, what is our this f of t function? It is current waveform. So I omega t, I can call this I omega t, is equal to summation n equal to 1 to infinity Bn sine n omega t. Actually, I am interested in finding the RMS value of fundamental component of source current. I am not interested in harmonic components. So therefore, for fundamental component, I can write, if you have to find fundamental component only, put n equal to 1. So therefore, I1 omega t, here it was In omega t, okay, all components. So therefore, I1 omega t for n equal to 1 is equal to B1 sine omega t. Let us call this equation as equation 1. Where what is B1? B1 अभी थोड़ी देर पहले मैंने बताया. It is the Fourier coefficient given by 2 by t integration minus t by 2 to plus t by 2. Then it is there ft sine omega t d omega t. Ft is the actually the amplitude of the current. What is the amplitude of current? It is plus id. So I will write id sine omega t d omega t. So here ft is actually the amplitude of the current. What is amplitude of current? Is it is plus id. So that's what I have written here. So therefore, if you further simplify this, B1 I can write as 2 by, I can take the entire cycle. This is 0 pi 2 pi. So I can take 2 by 2 pi, entire cycle. Integration 0 to 2 pi, because I will integrate over the complete cycle. id sine omega t d omega t. So that is equal to 2 and 2 cancel. So this is 1 by pi times, ये मेरा 0 to 2 pi है. I will split it into two integrations, 0 to pi and pi to 2 pi. So first I will take 0 to pi. From 0 to pi, what is the amplitude of current? It is plus id. id sine omega t d omega t plus, then I will take pi to 2 pi. Integration pi to 2 pi. What is the amplitude of current? It is not plus id, it is minus id. So I will write minus id sine omega t d omega t. Actually, it was 0 to 2 pi. Just 0 to 2 pi integration I have split into first half cycle 0 to pi, where amplitude of current is plus id sine omega t d omega t, and then from pi to 2 pi amplitude of current is not plus id, it is minus id sine omega t d omega t. So therefore, B1 is equal to 1 by pi. I can take this id out, so it will be id by pi times first integration. What is the integration of sine? It is minus cos omega t, and integration is from 0 to pi plus. What is the integration of sine? It is minus cos. There is already minus, minus and minus will become plus. So this is plus cos omega t pi 2 pi. Close. So it is equal to id by pi. This is minus cos pi minus minus plus cos 0 plus this is cos 2 pi minus cos pi. So that is equal to id by pi. Cos pi is minus 1. Minus and minus is plus 1 plus cos 0 is 1. cos 2 pi is 1, cos pi is again minus 1, 1 plus 1 is minus into minus is plus 1. So therefore, B1 Fourier coefficient is equal to 1 plus 1 plus 1. This is 4ID by pi. 4ID by pi. Okay, fine. So therefore, what is your I1 omega t? From equation 1, I1 omega t is B1 sin omega t. So substitute it here. So therefore, I1, that is fundamental component of instantaneous value of fundamental component of source current, I1 is equal to B1 sin omega t. So I1 is equal to, what is B1? B1 we have already got 4ID by pi sin omega t. So therefore, this is the mathematical expression for instantaneous value of source current, fundamental component of source current. This is the instantaneous value of fundamental component of source current. So we know I is equal to Im sin omega t. So therefore, so this is equal to I1 max sin omega t. So therefore, what is I1 max? I1 max is the peak of the current, that is 4ID by pi. So therefore, peak value of current, peak value of fundamental component of current, because I1 is fundamental component of current, peak value of fundamental component of source current, I1 max is equal to this 4ID by pi, 4ID by pi. So therefore, what is RMS value of fundamental component of source current? RMS value of fundamental component of source current. So RMS value, let us denote it by I1. It is peak value by root 2, I1 max by root 2. Your I1 max is 4ID by pi into root 2. So I have divided it by root 2. Rationalizing it, multiply and divide by root 2. So this is 4 root 2 ID by root 2 into root 2 is 2 pi. 2 2 are 4. So therefore, RMS value of fundamental component of source current is 2 root 2 by pi ID. And if you find 2 into root 2 divided by pi, it is 0.9. So I1 is equal to 0.9 ID. Very important. This is what we wanted. So I1 is 0.9 ID. So therefore, what is my input power factor? Therefore, input power factor, you already know its expression is RMS value of fundamental component of source current divided by actual RMS value of actual source current into sine phi 1. And since phi 1 you have seen it is equal to alpha, so sine phi 1 will be equal to sine alpha. So therefore, input power factor will be I1. I1 is 0.9 ID, 0.9 ID. Divided by what is the RMS value of source current? You have just now few moments back seen that source current is simply equal to ID. Its RMS value is ID into sine alpha. ID and ID goes. So therefore, input power factor is 0.9 into sine alpha. Very important. So therefore, your input power factor depends upon alpha. For alpha equal to I'm sorry, it is not sine alpha. Here it is cos alpha. Sorry, it is cos phi 1, cos alpha. So cos phi 1 is equal to cos alpha. So input power factor is I1 by I cos phi 1, not sine phi 1. Cos phi 1 is the fundamental cos phi 1 is the fundamental power factor or displacement factor. So it is 0.9 into cos alpha, not sine alpha. I regret, so there was mistake, so we have corrected this mistake. For alpha equal to 0 degree, what is cos 0? Cos 0 is 1. So input power factor is 0.9. It is very input power, it is very close to unity. But as alpha increases, because your converter is controlled by delay angle or firing angle, and you may have to increase alpha to a large value. As alpha increases, what happens to cos alpha? Cos alpha decreases, so input power factor also deteriorates. So therefore, if you operate your converter at large values of delay angle,
the input power factor will be very poor. That means your converter will be drawing more and more reactive power from the source. So therefore, input power factor is 0.9 cos alpha. It is dependent upon alpha. For small alpha, input power factor is better. For large values of alpha, input power factor is poor. So your converter draws more and more reactive power from the source. That is about input power factor. Another thing is that since you know that your current is, like this, it is not sinusoidal, it is non-sinusoidal. So it is very rich in harmonics. We say that current is, distorted. So how do you measure the distortion level in the current? Like, for example, the distortion level or pollution level in air is measured. Pollution level in water is measured. Similarly, pollution level in current can also be measured. Your actual, ideal current should have been sinusoidal, but it is not sinusoidal, it is highly distorted. It is a rectangular, non-sinusoidal. So what is the level of pollution? So that means this current drawn by your converter from the source is highly polluted. What is the level of pollution? How do you measure level of pollution? That's called harmonic pollution. Like you have air pollution, you have water pollution. In current drawn by the converter, you have harmonic pollution. The parameter which determines the level of harmonic pollution in the current drawn by the converter, that's called total harmonic distortion. Total harmonic distortion. And it is called THD. And this THD of the source current is given by this expression, under root of I square minus I1 square divided by I1. And if you find percentage, multiply it by 100. So that will give you percentage THD. Where I is the RMS value of source current and I1 is the fundamental component of RMS value of source current. तो इसका मतलब ये है, ये आपकी I है, this is I, और इसका fundamental component ये है, this is I1. If you find the RMS value of fundamental component of source current, actual current में से fundamental component जब आप निकालेंगे, what is left? I have already told you by Fourier series your current comprises of fundamental component and plus harmonic components. That means fundamental component plus third harmonic component plus fifth harmonic component plus seventh harmonic component plus ninth harmonic component plus 11th harmonic component plus so on. इसमें से, so this is your I. इसमें से अगर आप fundamental निकालें, so what is left? Only harmonics are left. So therefore, it is equal to under root of, so it is equal to I distorted current by I1 into 100. So I1 में से I1 जब आप निकालेंगे, you get only distortions, you get only harmonics. So therefore, this under root of I square minus I1 square is distorted current divided by I1. So therefore, distorted current as a percentage of fundamental component, that will give you percentage THD, that will give you the level of distortion or pollution, harmonic pollution in the source current. Where from we got this equation? Its derivation, I am not deriving it here. You can go to the book Power Electronics by Mohan and Landon Robbins. This expression is already derived there. So I am not deriving here, it is already available in the literature. So therefore, for a sufficiently inductive load, what is percentage THD? Percentage THD is I. I is, कुछ देर पहले हमने अभी, we have seen that RMS value of source current is ID minus what is I1? Just few moments back we found that I1 is 0.9 ID square divided by I1 is again 0.9 ID multiplied by 100. So therefore percentage THD, if you take this ID out, ID, what will you get inside? 1 minus 0.9 into 0.9, 0.81 divided by 0.9 ID. So ID and ID goes under root of 1 minus 0 and multiplied by 100. So under root of 1 minus 0.81 divided by 0.9 will give you THD. It will give you THD equal to 0.438. And this means percentage THD is 43.8%. So therefore, this gives us an idea about what is the level or magnitude of or level of distortion in the source current. So your source current has a distortion level of 43.8%. So it is highly distorted. Okay. So what type of source current you assumed? This. But you must remember that this type of source current is drawn by the converter if you assume highly or sufficiently inductive load where load is modeled by a current source. But your source current may not be this source, your source current may have this type of waveform also, as we have seen in one of the previous lectures. Or if your source current is discontinuous, then it may have this type of waveform. So as the shape of the source current changes, this figure will also change. This figure is true for rectangular waveform. So for rectangular waveform, which is for a converter feeding an RL load, sufficiently inductive load, where load can be modeled as a current source, load current is assumed to be ripple free and constant, like this, the level of distortion, THD, total harmonic distortion, is 43.8%. So finally, I will show you the harmonic spectrum of the source current. Harmonic spectrum. Harmonic spectrum can be shown like this. You know, your harmonic current is given by fundamental component of current by H, where H is the level of harmony. You remember that, for example, if you have a fundamental component, what is H? H is 1. So I1 is equal to I1 by 1, that is I1. I1 is equal to I1, it's a fundamental component. Third harmonic component agar hai, so what is harmonic order? Harmonic order is H is equal to 3. So for third harmonic component. So what is the magnitude of third harmonic component? It will be fundamental component ka magnitude divided by 3. Similarly, magnitude of fifth harmonic component will be I1 by 5. Magnitude of seventh harmonic component will be I1 by 7, and so on. So as the order of harmonic increases, the amplitude of harmonic currents decreases. Okay, so therefore IH is equal to I1 by H. So I can write IH by I1 is equal to 1 by H. So therefore with this I can now draw the harmonic spectrum of source current. So source current harmonic spectrum will be like this. This is harmonic order axis, and this axis is IH by I1. And what is that? IH by I1, you have seen that is 1 by H. If you take fundamental component of source current, H equal to 1. What is 1 by 1? 1 by 1 is 1. So fundamental component is there 100%. It has an amplitude of 1. Now fundamental component will be followed. Now your current, since your current is not sinusoidal, it is distorted. So in addition to fundamental component, it will have a harmonics. So what is the most predominant harmonic? So fundamental component, it will have third harmonic. It will have third harmonic, I3, fifth harmonic, I5. All odd harmonics are present, I7, and so on. Third harmonic, H equal to 3 means third harmonic. It has an amplitude of 1 by 3. 1 by 3 because H is equal to 3. Fifth harmonic will have an amplitude of 1 by 5. Seventh harmonic will have an amplitude of 1 by 7. Ninth harmonic will have an amplitude of 1 by 9. 11th harmonic will have an amplitude of 1 by 11. 13th harmonic will have an amplitude of 1 by 13, and so on. So this shows the harmonic spectrum of source current. That means fundamental component is most strong component there, it is present there, and then harmonics. Third harmonic has an amplitude of 1 by 3, fifth harmonic has an amplitude of 1 by 5, seventh 1 by 7, and so on. As the order of harmonics increases, the amplitude decreases. This is called harmonic spectrum of source current. So therefore, with this I will conclude my today's lecture. So in last two lectures, previous lecture and today's lecture, summarizing what we have learned, we have discussed the operation of a single phase fully controlled converter, that is full converter, for different loading conditions. We first discussed for purely resistive load, and we have seen for purely resistive load, the converter average output voltage is always positive, and converter operates always in discontinuous conduction mode of operation. Let us summarize what we have seen. Summary. For our load, that is purely resistive load, it will result in discontinuous conduction mode of operation, and average load voltage will be always positive. That means there is always flow of power from source to load. Okay, So alpha can be less than 90 degrees. This is the range of alpha, 0 to 180 degrees. Alpha less than 90 degrees will result in rectification. Alpha greater than 90 degree will also result in rectification. There is no inversion mode of operation in purely resistive load. And it always results in discontinuous conduction mode of operation, and VD at any value of delay angle or firing angle will be always positive. That means power is always drawn from source to the load. Power flows from source to the load. Then we discuss for purely inductive load, which is a hypothetical condition. Purely inductive loads do not exist in practice. And for purely inductive load, we have seen for alpha less than 90 degrees, we have an abnormal operation. If you remember, we have discussed in previous lecture, alpha less than 90 degrees gives positive volt second area greater than negative volt second area. That means energy stored is always less than energy released, which violates the volt second balance of inductor. And therefore, you have seen in the previous lecture, with every half cycle, the magnitude of current goes on increasing indefinitely till the circuit gets damaged and you see smoke coming out of the circuit. So therefore, alpha less than 90 degrees is not normal operation, it is abnormal operation. And alpha equal to 90 degrees gives just continuous conduction mode of operation, and alpha greater than 90 degrees always gives discontinuous conduction mode of operation. And average load voltage for inductive, purely inductive load is always zero, because average voltage across an inductor is always zero. Energy released is always equal to energy stored. It does not consume any energy. Inductor is a wattless circuit element. So there is flow of power from source to load, and then power flows back from load to source. So power is not consumed. So average load voltage is always zero. Then we discussed for RL load. For RL load, we first discussed for discontinuous conduction mode of operation. Okay, and then we discussed for continuous conduction mode of operation. For continuous conduction mode of operation, we assumed that load current is constant and ripple free, and load was modeled by a current source. And we have seen that for alpha less than 90 degrees, alpha equal to 90 degrees, or alpha greater than 90 degrees. For alpha less than 90, the continuous conduction mode of operation is there. Average output voltage is given by 2 root 2 Vs by pi cos alpha. And we have found this average output voltage is true only for continuous conduction mode of operation. For alpha equal to alpha less than 90 degrees, no doubt you get continuous conduction mode of operation. But if you take RL load and you take alpha 90 degrees or alpha greater than 90 degrees, since this is a passive load, average output voltage no doubt will be positive, but it will result in discontinuous conduction mode of operation. For alpha less than 90 degrees, you may get continuous conduction mode of operation, and you may apply this equation for finding the average output voltage. But for alpha equal to 90 degrees and alpha greater than 90 degrees, average output voltage is still positive. You don't get inversion mode of operation, but you get discontinuous conduction mode of operation. And for discontinuous conduction mode of operation, this equation for finding average output voltage is not valid. Okay. And finally, today we discussed in today's lecture operation of converter on active load, RLE load. For RLE load, we take two conditions, one alpha less than 90 degrees. Here we again first analyze for discontinuous conduction mode of operation and then continuous conduction mode of operation. For discontinuous conduction mode of operation, we have seen that converter has two modes, thyristor conduction mode and coasting mode. For thyristor conduction mode, your load voltage is equal to source voltage, and for coasting mode, current becomes zero, your load is disconnected from the source, and load voltage is equal to E, load's own voltage. So for thyristor conduction mode, that is from alpha to beta, your load voltage is equal to source voltage. And for coasting mode, that is from beta to pi plus alpha, load voltage is equal to E. And for continuous conduction mode of operation, we have seen we have only one mode, that is thyristor conduction mode. And for thyristor conduction mode, your load voltage is equal to source voltage. And then we analyze the operation of converter for RLE load for alpha greater than 90 degrees. For alpha greater than 90 degrees, we found that average output voltage becomes negative. This is plus, this is minus, VD becomes negative. So your load voltage polarity also has to be reversed. So E also has to be negative so that the current flows from E to VD, and there is energy is supplied back from load to source. Okay, and if your load is a DC motor, okay, this DC motor maybe it's operating as a generator. Whatever energy is there, it supplies that energy back to the source. Okay, so therefore for alpha greater than 90 degrees, we have seen today, we have drawn the waveforms also. Average negative segments of voltage were larger than positive segments of voltage, and average output voltage was negative. That's it. Average output voltage becomes negative. And there is the converter operates in the inversion mode of operation, and energy flows from load to source. For rectification mode of operation, there is flow of power from source to load, and for inversion mode of operation, there is flow of power from load to source. We have studied. And finally, we derived the mathematical expression. I mean, we calculated the input power factor of converter, and we have found input power factor is 0.9 cos alpha. As alpha increases, input power factor deteriorates, and converter draws more and more reactive power, which is of course a drawback. And we have also found the harmonic level or pollution level of source current. The parameter which gives the harmonic level or pollution level of source current is called total harmonic distortion. For a highly inductive load, sufficiently inductive load, where constant load current is flowing, ripple free load current is flowing, where load current is rectangular like this, we have found THD as equal to 43.8%, which shows a high level of pollution in the source current, which shows that source current is not sinusoidal, it is non-sinusoidal, and its pollution level is as high as 43.8%. So with this, I will end my today's lecture. I again advise all of you to go through last two lectures, previous lecture and today's lecture. Try to understand operation of converter, full converter for R load, L load, RL load, RLE load, continuous conduction mode of operation, discontinuous conduction mode of operation, rectification mode, inversion mode, and try to draw the waveforms again and again. Okay, if you have drawn waveforms for any of these conditions correctly, you have understood the operation of the converter. So practice the waveforms, draw the waveforms, analyze the converter. If possible, go to the MATLAB, develop the simulation models and simulate the converters, and that will give you better understanding of the converter. In case of any difficulty, any help, any query, you are free to ask. So with this, I will end my today's lecture. Thank you.